What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into episode 71, everybody. I am your host, Sleazeball. Today's episode will be my Week 10 bounce back and smash players. So you're going to want to make sure you listen up to the information I drop here because my research on these guys and why they're not just going to bounce back and smash is going to be very good for your fantasy football lineups this week. Before we dive into it, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you smash that subscription. Turn that bell on. We'll be live tomorrow, tonight, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, helping you with fantasy football questions. Got a couple different content creators coming on, and all the support across all the platforms, guys, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify has been absolutely amazing. You guys are absolute goats. Thank you for all the support, and let's dive into it, guys. The first player I want to talk about that is going to bounce back and smash this week is going to be George Pickens. Currently playing 72% of the snaps, wide receiver 49 on the year, 18 targets, 13 receptions, 171 yards, and negative 10 yards rushing. I know the rushing looks bad, but at least you're getting the opportunity at wide receiver, which is like what you want in fantasy football. Now, why I love him so much this week. The first 3 weeks, George Pickens has been tasked with 3 top 5 defenses out the gates. So he's finally going to get room to breathe this weekend for the first time. In week 1, he faced a lockdown corner in A.J. Terrell with 2 amazing safeties up top in Simmons and Bates. Week 2, he went up against the number 1 lockdown corner in the NFL with Patrick Surtain, who is now locked up DK Metcalf, Pickens, and Mike Evans back-to-back 3 weeks in a row. Now you get the Indianapolis Colts, who are the worst first to pass. This is a pot of gold right here for George Pickens this week. So the Indianapolis Colts are currently giving up 40.6 points per game to the wide receiver position. That ranks 29th. They're giving up 12.8 points in the red zone to wide receivers, which ranks 31st, almost dead last. So George Pickens' chance for a touchdown in this game are very high, guys. They're also giving up 167.3 yards to the wide receiver position per game and 13.7 receptions per game on 19.3 targets per game. And they're giving up a touchdown to a wide receiver every game. So this is an absolute game here that is a pot of gold for George Pickens. You're also going to have Anthony Richardson, who's struggling mightily heading into the Steelers defense are coming to them. Probably the best defense in football. The volume of chances are going to be here through the roof, and George Pickens is in for an absolute smash day this week. Guys, get him in your lineups. The second player I want to talk about that is going to bounce back and absolutely smash this week is going to be Jayden Reed. Now, I hope you listened to my video after week 2 when Jordan Love went down to go buy Jayden Reed because you are no longer going to be able to buy him anymore. That is why you subscribe to the channel, guys, so you get the info ahead of time so you know the moves to make. Now, when you're looking at Jayden Reed's snap share here, 62%, but that's an outlier because, again, Jordan Love was down. They used Malik Willis, and they rushed the ball more. So if you look back at week 1, where he was the wide receiver 1 overall in fantasy football, he had 72% of the snaps. So you can expect that number to go back into the 70% to 80% range here in a very big division rival game against the Vikings. Now, he's wide receiver 9 on the season still because that big week 1. 14 targets, 10 receptions, 197 yards on the ground, 197 yards in the air, 89 yards on the ground, 2 total TDs. You got to love the gadget rushing plays here. It's absolutely awesome. Now, you get the Minnesota Vikings here, guys. The Minnesota Vikings are going to look good on paper. They're going to look like the number 1 fantasy defense. Yes. Here's why this is a smash play. They're giving up 36.6 to the wide receiver position, which ranks 23rd. They stingy up in the red zone. They only allow 2.6 points per game, which is 9th. And they've given up 16.7 targets or receptions per game to the wide receiver position. To go along with that, the Minnesota Vikings defense gives up 239.3 pass yards per game, which ranks 26th. Jordan Love looks to be back out there this week. Jayden Reed is going to be his number 1 target again, and this man has an absolute nose for the end zone nonstop when his quarterback is out there, and this is one of my absolute favorite plays this week because the matchup is pure gold. The third player I like to bounce back and smash this week is Davante Adams of the Raiders. So currently playing 95% of the snap share right now, and don't worry about the injury updates this week, guys. I know he said he was limited in practice. If you're limited, you're mainly going to be out there, and this guy doesn't miss a lot of games in his entire career. Now, his snap share ranks top 4th in the NFL, wide receiver 20 overall, 27 targets, 18 receptions, so he's still seeing 9 targets a game, which is volume that you want no matter what. 209 receiving yards. Obviously, he's on the older side. The rushing yards are going to be minimal, if any, and 1 total TD on the season. Now, you get the Cleveland Browns this week in a must-win game. Both teams are 1-2. And you look at last week with the Cleveland Browns and the injuries they have, Danny Dimes let him up for 250 and 2 TDs, and Malik Neighbors shredded him. Davante Adams is the best route runner in the past decade. This man should be open in this game often and early, and it should be a heavy dose of Davante Adams. And when I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns defense here against the pass, they give up 32 points per game to the wide receiver position, ranking 18th, so bottom tier. 6.3 in the red zone, where Davante thrives. That ranks 21st. And they also give up 11 targets to the position on the season. Now, the Cleveland Browns defense is also ranked 14th, giving up 195.7 yards per game. And what's going to be interesting here is you've seen a lot of these trade rumors swirling around Davante Adams now too, because the Raiders are struggling. And what that means to me is they're going to force feed him even more. This is going to be an absolute get Davante in your lineup smash play week. Fourth player I like to bounce back and smash this week is going to be Mike Evans. He's going to get the Philadelphia Eagles at home. They're coming off a tough loss to the Broncos that I did not see coming. But Mike Evans was my must-sit wide receiver last week, guys. He went up against Patrick Surtain, like I said at the beginning of the video. That is the most lockdown corner, which is why you should be sitting Garrett Wilson this week as well. If you're listening to this video, get him out of your lineups. Dude, Patrick Surtain has held everyone under 30 yards. He's unbelievable. Now, you get the Philadelphia secondary, who has Slay banged up already. They might not have Devonta Smith. They had A.J. Brown out there practicing. That's big today for them as well. But still, the volume should change a little bit here in the game, missing a start that they have out there. And when I look at the Philadelphia young secondary that they have, the Eagles right now, currently to the wide receiver position, are giving up 38.7 points per game, which ranks 25th. They do get very good in the red zone, though. They've only allowed 2 points per game, which is 6th, giving up 11 targets to the position on the season. And the Eagles defense is allowing 204 yards per game in pass yards, and that ranks 17th. And now they're in Tampa. This is going to be a bounce back game for Baker. The matchup last week was very bad versus the Broncos. This is the plus matchup. Godwin and Evans, get them in your lineups. They're both going to smash this week. The fifth player and one of my favorite starts to bounce back and smash this week is Jaxon Smith-Njigba, J season. So if you look at it, he's playing 83% of the snaps. He has taken the role from Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver too. 21 targets, 17 receptions, 175 receiving yards. Has not found pay dirt yet, but this is the game where it happens. And even if you're just looking at the targets, like I just showed Mike Evans, a big name, look at the volume, man. Even J season has more targets than him. This man is one of my favorite go buys right now as well, but it's not a buy low video, but I'm going to throw that in there as well. And the matchup they get this week, guys, versus the Detroit Lions is pure gold. The Detroit Lions currently right now rank 31st in fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, giving up 44.9. They give up 5.8 per game in the red zone, ranking 18th and 18 receptions per game, guys. 203 air yards per game they're averaging as well, which is 19th. And now, if you're looking at this game, last week they had Ramsey and Fuller versus Miami, which is a very tough corner matchup, and they played against Skylar Thompson. So the first three quarterbacks they played against have been Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson. That's 3 easy wins. This is their first matchup test, and Detroit is absolutely lights out versus the run. They rank 4th at stopping the run. This is going to be a pass-heavy game. I don't like K9 or Sharp, whoever's out there in this game, because Detroit's front is disgusting. But Detroit is so beatable through the air that it's going to be a full heavy pass attack for Geno, J Season, DK. All these guys go off. Get J Season in your lineup this week. He's going to explode. The sixth player I like as an absolute bounce back and 100% smash play this week is going to be Tony Pollard. Now, Tony Pollard has had a very tough first 3 games, and he's done okay with it. So he's seen 64% of the snaps, so you do see a little bit of usage of Tyjae Spears in there as well. He ranks RB23, 39 attempts, 158 yards. He has 11 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown on the season. Now, why I love him so much this week, guys, is you're going to get the Miami Dolphins run defense here, led by Skylar Thompson, right? So if I'm looking at the Miami Dolphins run defense right now, they rank 31st in the NFL, almost last, with 35.1 points per game to the running back. And in the red zone, they can't stop anybody. They rank 27th, giving up 82.4 points to the running back position. And they have given up 374 rush yards in 3 games already on the season. This defense is very, very, very susceptible to being beat by the run. Now, the volume here of why you like Tony Pollard so much this week, guys, is when Skylar Thompson is the quarterback. Look at last week, man. How many first downs did they get? How much time did they move the ball? How much possession did they have? Not much. So now you're going to get a Monday night game where you're going to have Tony Pollard seeing multiple opportunities because of the way the Miami Dolphins offense has struggled. And I expect him to see 20 attempts in this game. He's going to have double what he has in his first three, or 50% of it. So if he has 39 attempts now, he will have 20 attempts in this game, and he's going to be pounding the run. And I absolutely love the smash play here against a very, very, very weak Miami Dolphins run D. The seventh player I like to bounce back and absolutely smash this week is going to be James Conner, playing 68% of the snaps right now. Currently RB 18, 46 attempts, 139 yards, seeing work in the pass game, 5 receptions, 43 yards, 2 total touchdowns. And last week, guys, he had a tough matchup against the Detroit Lions front, which is why I said I don't like K9 or Sharp this week either, because the Lions are nasty up front. They stop the run. They are the 4th best versus the run on the season. Now they get the fantasy football pot of gold in the Washington Commanders. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Against the run, currently the Commanders are ranked 16th, giving up 17.7 points per game. On the season, they've given 70.5 points to the running back. That ranks 20th, and they're averaging 310 yards on the season to the running back position. It is absolutely unstoppable for them, and they're averaging 121.7 per game. So you're literally looking at 100 plus no matter what game from James Conner here. This is going to be a shootout game. And what else you have to like here is Trey McBride has been ruled out with the concussion now as well. So they will probably lean on Conner a little more, with Marvin Harrison being the focal point in the pass game. And this is going to be a high-scoring shootout game between Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray. And James Conner is absolutely going to explode this week. Get this man in your starting lineups. The 8th player I want to talk about that 100% should be in your starting lineups this week over a ton of people is Jerome Ford. He is going to bounce back, and he is going to smash this week versus the Las Vegas Raiders, but I'll get to the Raiders in a second. He is playing 66% of the snaps. He had an outlier week 2, right? So he really plays 75 to 79% of the snaps in week 1 and 3. And then in week 2 versus Jacksonville, they had a big lead and they pounded Foreman out. So his snap share dropped to 44%. So expect his snap share to be in the 75 to 80% range like normal here. Nick Chubb won't be back here. We don't even know about week 5 or week 6 here. There's no update yet. Now, he's running back 26 on the season, 29 attempts, 145 yards. Also seeing a lot of passing work. He's seen 13 targets, 10 receptions, 58 yards, and 1 touchdown. But let's get to the pot of gold Raiders run defense here. The Raiders run defense, guys, is atrocious. They are 29th versus the running back position on the season, allowing 30.4 points per game. They are 31st overall in the season, allowing 87.4 points per game to the running back position. And they are ranked 30th, allowing 152.7 yards on the ground right now. And the Raiders are decimated with injuries on the defensive side of the ball. This is going to be an absolute Jerome Ford 100% smash play game here. And on the season, you've seen him at his floor, which is about an 8 to 9 point average on the season. We haven't even seen the ceiling yet. This could be his massive explosion game here. And I like Jerome Ford over a ton of running backs this week in fantasy football. The 9th player I want to talk about for a bounce back play this week, and it's crazy he's on this list, CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud hasn't even cracked 20 points this week in fantasy, or this season in fantasy football. This is going to be the week he does. And you're going to tell me, oh, Tank Dell isn't out there. It's not going to matter against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. But we'll get to that in a second. So currently QB 17, so not the draft capital you paid for him yet. Things will turn around. 709 passing yards, 4 passing TDs, 2 picks. Interesting enough, he's got some rushing yards with 24 rushing yards, hasn't found a rushing TD, but it's a good sign because he didn't run a lot last year. So, you want the rushing yards in fantasy football. Now, getting to why this is such a glorious matchup for CJ Stroud. The Jacksonville Jaguars ranked 27th, giving up 361 pass yards per game, guys. They get torched. Now, when I'm looking at just what they give up to wide receivers as well here, guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars give up 38 points a game to the wide receivers. That's 25th. They do stymie up in the red zone. They only allow 2 points per game, ranking 6th. But they've given up 20 targets a game to the wide receiver position and 14 receptions a game to the wide receiver position. And Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, with Tank Dell out now, are going to absolutely feast against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look what the Buffalo Bills to them in a single half last week on Monday Night Football, man. Josh Allen had 30 points by the first half. They can't cover anyone. They couldn't even cover Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman. Now imagine Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins. This is the most plus matchup across the board passing-wise, and the Houston Texans should explode against them this week in the air. And C.J. Stroud is going to be one of my top quarterbacks this week, and do not hesitate putting him in your lineup this week either. The 10th bounce-back thing I want to talk about is just the tight end position altogether. Can we finally have a tight end week, guys, where the superstars just go off? It has been a nightmare for the tight end position. It's been a nightmare for me trying to rank them, trying to start him, sit him, everything. And if I'm looking at Travis Kelce at tight end 21 with 15 points, he used to do that weekly. He is getting outscored by Foster Moreau, Colby Parkinson, Jonnu Smith, Noah Fant, Chigga Okonkwo, Tyler Conklin, Brenton Strange. I mean, this is ridiculous. This list should not be here. Mark Andrews is in the same situation. Sam Laporta, the tight end 1 from last year, is in the same situation. I know he's banged up going into Monday Night Football, but all their matchups this week are gold. And I want to see the superstars bounce back at tight end. And I know, obviously, right now you're not even thinking about starting or sitting a different tight end because no one is scoring. So literally, you're keeping all the guys in, and they're just not doing anything, but neither is anyone else. So when are the superstars going to wake up? I'm going to call that this week. All the tight ends wake up, and Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and Sam Laporta have a big week in week 4 this week. Please, for the love of God, help me out and have a big week, tight ends. That is the end of episode 71, everybody. Thanks for rocking with me on this beautiful Friday morning. That is my 10 bounce back smash players, not just bounce backs. You make sure that every single one of those guys I talked about in my lineup or in this video is in your lineups this week, guys. Before we head out, make sure you smash that like, make sure you hit that subscription, turn that bell on so you know when I'm live. I'll be live tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, all 4 days, going helping you with start sits, trades, whatever it is. And if you guys can't make the live videos, of course, drop any questions you have in the comments. I will try to answer them all as fast as I can. That is my goal as a content creator. And I've got all my stardom sit-em videos out, guys. All my ranking videos out, guys. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. The journey has been amazing. And this is maybe my last video of the week, so there will be live shows from here on out. So I hope to see you guys in there, man. Sleazeball out.